وقل رب زدني علما.
The Lord. This is because
I just wanted to thank you guys for coming and for like doing this, because it is good to like make people think, you know, because I'm not against any religion. I think they're all great. I just don't appreciate how he's bashing on the Christians. He's really emphasizing on the amount of books, and that's not what matters. It's the content, not the context. You know what I mean? So I don't really appreciate how he's doing that, how he's not listening. I think what he's doing is a great cause, and I just wanted to shake his hand and thank him for doing this.
I mean, it's not about obviously, I mean,
we're from America, so yeah.
I realize that. It's the first time. Because there are many people who come here, there are Muslims who come here, and there are Christians who come here. There's a lot of bashing about religions here. So it's not only one person doing it. I mean, because I think because of the way, because of the weather, that's why you see only one person. Normally it's like quite crowded here.
No.
But what do you think of what he said with regards to Jesus being a man and not God? What is your view with regards to that?
So we see it as in order for like God to show us like the suffering and whatnot that he went through the stages of the cross. Like he knew when he was a teenager that that's what he was going to be doing.
Right.
He knew that that's what his like ultimate goal was to do, is to show us like the good like way to live and like all the suffering, what he's willing to do for us. As God in heaven, he can't do that. Like because there are people that only will believe by faith.
So you're saying God in heaven doesn't know the suffering in the earth?
No, he knows the suffering. We don't. Like we don't understand the suffering he's willing to go through for us.
No, why is that necessary? Why is it necessary for God to go through suffering?
Because
in order to understand us,
for sure, for sure. But he's trying to reach out to those that were straying so far from like him. So that's what he was doing. Is he was like reaching out to those of us that like, you know, and to save like our sins.
But isn't that what exactly what the prophets did? For example, Moses, David, Abraham, all the prophets who came before. Didn't they do that? Didn't they try to reach out to the poor, to the one who were oppressed, to the one who were in need of salvation?
Yes, they did. And so did our saints. Because as Catholic, we believe in saints.
Oh, you're a Catholic. Okay.
Yes, I'm a Catholic.
Right. So, I mean, obviously nothing negative. Because I know majority of the people, majority of the Christians are Catholic. So I do recognize that as a mainstream Christianity. What I'm saying is that what I don't understand is why does God need to suffer in order for humanity to be saved? That's what I don't understand. Because you see the Abrahamic faith, there's like three faiths here: Christianity, Judaism, Islam. Judaism and Islam do not believe that God becomes a man, or he suffers, or anything basically. Any other weakness that human beings have. For example, there's a clear verse in the Bible that says that God is immortal. Like God is immortal, and then you say Jesus is God. There's some sort of a contradiction here because one died and the other didn't.
Right. So we believe in like life everlasting, of course. So like when you can go to heaven and then you live there forever. So what he did is he came down to earth. Granted, I'm not a professional, obviously, in this. I'm just a Catholic person that's trying to.
I want to know the reasoning behind your faith.
And to save our sins, but the thing is he's a very loving God, and I don't know that much about like your guys' gods. I'm gonna be honest, I don't. I wish I did, and I think like it's
all loving. Obviously, God is loving, but God is also just.
Oh, he is just. So just because he's loving doesn't mean that everyone gets to go to heaven. That's why we have. So Catholics believe when he up to the point before Jesus was here, if you did mortal sins, you went straight to hell. There was no there was no confession or anything like that.
So you don't believe there was forgiveness before?
No, there was forgiveness, but like if you committed like a mortal sin, like something, because we believe in venial sins and mortal sins, right? So if you did something like that, like you're screwed. You're like you weren't going to go to heaven.
So what happens now?
Now, let's say you do a mortal sin or even a venial sin. We go to confession as Catholics, and what that is it's just like you being forgiven. Where most Christians believe, like if you, no matter what sin you do, as long as like you like believe in like God, like you can still go to heaven. Where we as Catholics believe you have to go through that humility and like through that process of like talking to God himself, like through like the church and being like, okay, so this is confession.
So you're saying if somebody murders, you can just confess for it and you go scot-free?
No.
How does it work?
So I mean, you have to change as a person too. It's not just you go to confession and like boom, like you're good to go.
You know, before there was like death penalty for somebody who murdered. There was death penalty for adultery. I'm trying to understand what happens now for a person who has actually murdered someone and he has been convicted of that murder. So how would you, as a person, from just say you're a judge and you do justice based on what the Bible says. So from the New Testament perspective, how would a person or how would the victim of that murderer get justice if all he has to do is just confess for it?
It's not all he has to do, though. So you confessing is just a step. It's just a step saying like, hey, yes, I'm heartfully sorry. Obviously, I'm sorry enough that like I'm coming here. Yes, I'm repenting and I'm doing it in a humility way, you know. So there's that. But you actually have to change as a person. Like the thing is,
what about the justice part? The justice for the victim.
Honestly, the suffering of trying to become a better person. If you murdered someone, there's obviously something going on wrong with you, or if like you repetitively do.
Well, you're a criminal, aren't you? There got to be some justice served.
Yes, there is.
The justice of the law of the land will obviously either give him a life sentence or a death sentence, depending on which law you follow or which country. So I'm saying, if you were a Christian and you abided only by the New Testament and you follow the law within so I want to know, what is the law in the New Testament for a person who is a convicted criminal, like a murderer or a rapist?
Like how they're going to get to heaven?
Yeah, sorry, go on. Sorry, say again?
Is he practicing Catholic or Catholic?
No, it's a hypothetical question. But what I'm saying is that regardless of what your spiritual, the degree of spirituality in you, I'm saying let's say you base your judgment only on the New Testament. What is the law in the New Testament that this person is now under in terms of serving justice to the victim of that particular murder? That's what I want to know. Because you see, in Islam it's very clear. The person who commits a murder, he gets punished. And he doesn't just confess. Obviously, he has to be repentant, but then he also has to go through the punishment. And in Islam, they give three choices. They give the choice of A, basically the death penalty in case of a murder, or B, the blood money, where the victim's family is approached. They're given these three choices by the judge once he's been convicted. So one of the choices is, like I said, the death penalty or the blood money. You know what the third choice is? Forgiveness. Complete forgiveness. No money, no penalty. And you know who decides that? Not the judge, not the jury, but the victim's family, because they understand the pain. They are the ones who will be suffering the most. So this ruling is not, obviously the judge decides whether he's convicted or not. He goes through that process of a normal, the law of the land. So this is what I'm trying to understand from the Christian perspective, from the New Testament.
Like an actual law or what?
No, I'm not saying what you do. I'm just asking, what does the New Testament teach to serve justice in such a scenario? Because what I understand so far from most Christians I spoke to, they say, oh, Jesus died for your sin and that's it.
No. So, see, we don't believe that.
I'm not saying you guys believe that. I'm just saying from my experience.
Right. And so how we see it is, it's not... like, yes, you have to do like the confession if you're a Christian, you know, like being a Christian does not give you a headway into heaven. It's just like what you believe and if you practice it. So let's say I murdered someone. I'm not planning on it, but let's say I did. Me going to confession would be the step, like me telling God, like, yes, which you understand. And then the next step, but the thing is like the priest can't like go out and tell everyone that. Like they are told like, you cannot share anyone's sin. It's between you and God, and you have the choice of being behind a scrim. So it's confident, like, you know, so like you don't have, they don't have to know who you are. And so when you do that, that's like you talking to God. And then you just going through like the church and like that blessing is how we see it. Now it's up to you. You can redo that. Like if I decide to murder someone else again, like why did I go to confession? Obviously I wasn't heartily sorry for it. It's your punishment is you having to like fight to become a better person, because you can't say that you're a Christian or you're a Catholic if you don't practice, if you don't try making yourself better. So if you're committing this like mortal sin over and over again, like your punishment is that hardship of trying to like become a better person. And in that process, like whether it's just daily things that you do different or just like how you completely change your life in order to like be better. But judgment-wise, yes, we believe he is a very just God. Not anyone's just going to make it into heaven. If you do something extremely wrong, he's just. You're not going to make it.
So where is the justice served? Because okay, the step one is confession in the church. Okay,
but we don't
whatever
have
confidentiality, that's fine. But I'm saying, what happens then? I'm not talking about repeat offenders. I'm talking about a one-time offender, and even repeat offenders, obviously.
So, like,
because if one-time offender, if he murders one time, there's no guarantee he won't murder again. But you see, if you let him go the first time, what is the guarantee that he won't murder again?
It's your free choice. It is. The whole point is like.
So where is the law? Where does the law come in?
See, that's just it. Like.
That's it.
No. Not what I'm saying is like, it's on you. It's not this world that's gonna make you.
On the person.
It's on you. It's all on you on how you're gonna change. Like, yes, I could go out there. I could commit a murder. I could be really sorry for what I did, but I don't change as a person. Like, even if I just did that one murder, like obviously something was going wrong. Maybe I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it just like is something that happened. But the thing is how we see it is it's you, like how you. Everyone's process is different.
You're looking from the point of view of the actual person who committed the murder.
Yes.
Why didn't you look at from the point of view of the victim and his family?
Yes, the victim and his family. Yes. And
how will they? For example, let's say somebody murdered somebody in your family. Do you not want to see justice served, or do you just say forgive every time? And these people who you forgive all the time, then what happens is these people, they get complacent and they go on committing repeat offending. They become repeat offenders.
And I can see where you're coming from, but as how we see it is like we can be like, so if someone like murders someone in my family, like I'm going to forgive them. I'm not going to forget. Like obviously I'm going to go through like the legal process like of this world to like make sure that it's different. But like spiritually wise, like that's what we're talking about. Spiritually wise, and spiritually wise, my job is to forgive them. If I have a grudge against them, or if I am just feeling angry, or even if I hate them, that's a moral sin. Like that's now me. That's committing a sin to them.
Do you think that approach is practical?
Yes.
So imagine a person like Hitler comes and attacks your country.
Yeah.
What do? Just sit by and say you're forgiven?
No.
What do you do?
I can make.
You're going to fight him back?
Yeah, but like the thing is, like I can forgive him.
Is that something that the New Testament teaches? That's what I'm trying to get. I'm not trying to ask you what's your personal opinion. You see?
No.
Because
I'm telling you what my religion says. And like, so if there's a war, Catholics are not against war. Like, let's say like a Hitler thing happened all over again. We're gonna be like, yes, like go to war to stop this bad thing that's happening. Like, stop it. But we need to forgive them. We need to forgive them. But it doesn't mean like us forgiving can be a physical
act. What does mean in this context? Because to be honest, when there is a war, when somebody's coming to attack your country, yes. I mean, when you see the children being bombed and killed in front of you, you don't want to go around just saying forgive you.
No.
You see, it's not practical.
No, like you have to be like on your defense, obviously, but like. So a lot of Christians are being like persecuted in other countries right now, and as our job, like I don't hate that religion that's doing it because I know it's not the religion that's practicing it. It's just like radicals. That's all it is. It's just radicals.
And you got radicals on both sides.
Exactly. You have
For
radical
example,
Christians.
You must have heard of the ISIS.
Yes.
You know who are the main victims? The Muslims.
Exactly. Like they're attacking their.
So the Muslims are the majority of the victims are the Muslims.
Exactly.
But you see, we are not talking about fringe groups. That's the reason I went to the Bible. I want to know from the Bible's perspective, from the New Testament's perspective. I do not see a clear law stated as to what happens to a murderer. Because I remember this passage about this woman who had committed adultery or something, and the Jews were going to stone her, and Jesus says something like, the one who did not commit a sin shall cast the first stone. So this is completely opposite to what was happening in the Old Testament.
So that's not showing you the whole story. That's just a phrase. If you kept reading what it goes on basically saying is that Jesus was like, whoever has not committed a sin, cast the first stone. Meaning like, you guys are all sinners. They all dropped their stones and they walked away. They didn't stone her because they have all committed a sin. Jesus is saying like, we have all sinned. And we have. And so like, it is for us not to judge. We are not supposed to judge her because of her sin, because you have sinned too. A sin is a sin. Yes, there are some that are worse than others, but in God's eye, every sin is hurting him. So me murdering someone, yeah, it's obviously going to...
Sorry to cut you off, but didn't God make that law to stone to death anyway?
That was an old one. When Jesus, that's what I was trying to tell him.
Wasn't Jesus God in the Old Testament?
Yes, but when
he made the law.
When Jesus came out, like times changed. The thing is, just like times changed. Religion stays the same, but like, so yes, back then stoning someone for a sin like that was big. But then when Jesus came, that's when like confession was available. He's the one that started like Catholicism, because before then, as I said, like the Jews believed like if you committed a major sin, like you were going to hell. Now you have a chance.
Did Jesus recognize the Old Testament laws?
Did he recognize it? Yes, he recognizes
So when
the
he said that,
prophets.
obviously during that
He recognizes
the
like
process of where they stoned the adulteress, I mean, he said that whoever has sinned should pass the first stone. If the law was, I think
He said whoever's not
he did not say
sinned.
the law is no more now. You cannot stone anymore. You see what I mean? Still acknowledging that the law is existing, but there's a condition now, and the condition is you got to be sinless somehow. I don't know. That's what it implies over there. But the question arises: Jesus was sinless. Why did he not abide by the law of God?
But he did.
He did. He didn't stone him. He said, "You are free to go."
No, he
At the end,
said whoever who has not sinned. It's the not sin.
which includes him. He's without sin.
But
Do you not agree that he's without sin?
Oh, he is without sin.
if he's without sin-
but he chose not to stone her because the stoning was not like that was something that the Jews were doing. He was
No,
bringing.
it was God's law. That's why they were doing it. It
Yeah,
wasn't just because the Jews felt like stoning people who are
it was
adulterous.
God's law. But that's what I'm saying. Is like the Jews are the Jews were supposed to like become like Catholic. Like a lot of them did. All of the Catholics, like the
Catholics
original
came way back, way afterwards. Okay, that's a different story.
Like when Catholicism started was when Jesus came and he did the Last Supper. The Last Supper, that was the beginning mass. That was the first mass, and from then that's when that's when Peter started putting into practice, and that's when he started going to spring forward.
You know, there's actually a passage where Jesus, it's in Matthew 15, I believe, the very beginning, where Jesus rebukes these Jewish people who are mocking his disciples. They say that, look at your disciples, I'm paraphrasing, who do not even wash their hands before eating or something like that. And Jesus tells them that, why do you, for the sake of your tradition, he's telling the Jewish, I think it was the Pharisees who were speaking to, why do you, for the sake of your tradition, do not abide by the law of God? And the law of God was anyone who curses their mother or father shall be put to death. Now you see, this is an Old Testament law. And Jesus here is trying to basically rebuke them for stopping or not practicing that particular law of God. So the law of God, or the Old Testament law, was something that Jesus is now telling them that why do you not perform according to what God has told you to do? Anyone who curses their mother or father shall be put to death. This is Jesus' word in Matthew 15. Now I'm asking, if the Old Testament laws were no more applicable, why is Jesus now rebuking them for not following it?
Because
this is like 1400
yeah.
years after Moses.
Yes.
1400
and
years
so
after.
in the Old Testament, from what I understand and what I've been told and taught.
Oh, sorry, this is in Matthew. This is in the New Testament, by the way.
Yes, I'm saying, but in the Old Testament, it was a lot stricter. It was a lot stricter, and there was a reason behind that. It was just to get people on the straight and narrow, and this is how it is. But then people started straying and going all over the place, and what really needed to happen in the New Testament when Jesus came is there just needed to be more.
I can barely hear.
No,
Can
okay.
you move a bit here?
Yeah, yes. So it's I'm just talking
I'm just
about.
moving a bit here because I can barely hear. I don't want to.
Yeah, I have to go. So I'll answer this and then thank you for talking. This has been actually really fun. And a good experience, actually. So
I hope your questions got answered.
Yes.
I know sometimes it's difficult when you got a big crowd.
No, and I really appreciate you talking to me very civilly. He's kind of.
No, it's just having a dialogue. That's the way we learn from each other.
It is.
We learn about each other.
And
There'll always be misconceptions because you see there's a lot of negative propaganda against Islam nowadays.
Most
you see on
definitely.
media. Yes.
And it's not.
Trump
It's
hasn't
not
helped.
bad. No, and it's not.
So you
and
know
it's
what I
not
mean?
a bad religion at all. It's just how people are perceiving it and how
Exactly.
they advertise.
The only way we can learn is by having a dialogue.
Yes. And so,
That's what's important, you know.
and I appreciate you not attacking me either, but instead
That's
asking me
what
questions.
our aim and objective is to learn from each other and to clear up the misconceptions we have. But yeah, thanks for your time. I know you guys are. Yeah, sure, go on.
So my dad has actually converted to Islam. And so
Alhamdulillah.
yeah. So I was just wondering, I'm okay with it. It makes him very happy, and I'm okay with it. But my mother doesn't understand it. I think she's afraid of it because she doesn't know much about it. What can we say to her? What can we do?
Sorry, I don't know the background as to why your dad converted, how he converted.
Yeah.
So was he a Christian before? Was he Catholic?
He was born, I think, into a Christian family, but in his teenage years, he lived in Kansas, So then there was the Muslim community there, and he just converted it because he just believes
He
it.
must have told you a reason. Because you see, people don't just convert to another
No,
religion.
no, yeah.
There's always a background to it.
Yeah.
Yes. So, sorry, I didn't catch your question. What was the
I just wanted how to show to family members that don't understand it that there's ISIS and they're against the Muslims, but then in America, kind of like what they make it out is that all the ISIS are Muslims. So
That is like me saying all the KKK are Christians.
Exactly.
You see, just because a fringe group claims that they follow a certain religion, or maybe we know the Buddhists are very basically they do not believe in non-violence. They have a doctrine called ahimsa, which is basically non-violent. But we see what happens in Burma today. The people we least expected to kill and murder and commit genocide are doing it. So just because these fringe groups are out there, you do not stereotype the entire religion as well. I think my best advice would be actually to seek knowledge and to seek to understand that Buddhism of faith from the true adherents, from the true followers, or the best thing from the scripture. And that's the reason most of my questions, if you realize, were based on what the Bible says. Because I don't want to know 100 different opinions of 100 different Christians.
You want to know what?
Yes, I would like to know what the scripture says, because everyone, they say that this is what God told us to do. And who am I going to question? God? Because you can say that no, the Protestants say this, or the Catholics say this, or whatever sect say this, but they all believe in the Bible. So if you're going to base your religion based on the Bible, I would rather approach it from what the rulings are in the Bible. And the same applies with the Quran and with the Sunnah. In Islam, it's not just the Quran. We believe in the Quran, the Sunnah, the Seerah. The Sunnah is basically the Hadith, or the traditions and the sayings and the actions of the Prophet and the companions. The Seerah is basically the biography of Muhammad. So you might have heard of many things negative about Muhammad. But you see, people do not tell you about the good things and the positive things. I think it's something that you find in all faiths and all backgrounds. For example, people will criticize you if you drove your car badly. But if you took a really nice turn, they won't tell you, "Oh, nice turn, mate." So this is I think human nature. Yeah, they look at the negativity. But if you want to learn about something, you look at both sides. And then you make up your mind as to why your dad chose to accept Islam as a faith. Yes, and this is, I think, the best approach.
What's your name?
Hashim.
I'm Sheridan.
Sorry, I don't shake hands with other than people I'm married to, or people like my parents. No disrespect to you.
No. For sure. She had
something you really
converted in like the 90s. Yes. And then
What's your name? Sorry?
Sheridan.
Sheridan.
And then
Are you
I think he was
sisters or friends?
Yeah, we all came here from
You guys are together?
No, so us,
we come from Minnesota.
and then there was another one
in
of us.
America, and we come from a very non-diverse culture. Like everyone in our town is white, basically, and everyone's Christian, everyone's white. So then, when he converted, it was like almost like a culture shock type thing, because he was doing the prayers every day on the rug, and it was just something I had never seen before. So it wasn't bad. It was just definitely. It was when I was younger too. So I was just, it's just different.
So now, have you heard anything from them?
Yeah, we actually started talking a lot because we started talking a lot about it, and we've opened up more about information that I didn't know beforehand. And I'm
It's just because earlier I saw you say, "Oh, Muslim women are."
No, I was just saying that because that guy. No, I was just messing with that guy. No, I was just messing with that guy because he's loud. You gotta be loud with loud people.
I'm a Muslim woman as well. I don't feel
No.
Yeah.
There's just
that every organisation has a certain way of men in a different situation.
Yeah. No, I think I said that guy. No, it's definitely interesting to come here because I know we were coming to Speaker's Corner to learn just because you could shout opinions, and I didn't know there would even be.
So you're listening.
Yeah, no, it's definitely nice to come and learn like more information and meet people because we come from a very, very small town, so very.
Yeah, like where I live, there's like 5,000 people.
What? About 500,000 miles.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay, so there's like America, and then there's Florida. Yeah, we're right there.
Different time zones.
We're basically Canada. Basically Canada. So yes. Thanks for welcoming us to London.
Okay, all the best.